Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining in this session. So for this session, we have our speaker, Mr. Sumit, and he comes up with around 11 years of experience in business strategy, consumer sales, brand management, investor relations, and finance. Sumit has also worked with companies such as Wipro, Consumer Care, Hexaware, and Metro. He also has a rich experience in FMCG and retail. He is also an MBA graduate from the TA Pi Management School, Manipal. He also sits in the board of studies for MBA colleges like IFIM and Wellinga. On this session, Sumit will talk about the new normal as the work from home takes over the world. So over to you, Sumit, and you can start.
Thanks, Vaishni. Thanks for giving this opportunity. Thanks everyone for joining the session now. I think we have a handful of people. I would try to kind of keep it as more interactive as possible. What we could do is if there's some questions which are coming in, Vaishni, do allow that to come in at any point in time.
We have like the last 5 minutes or something where you can address on the questions, if that's fine.
Sounds good. So just let me know when my screen is properly visible.
Yeah, it's visible right now. It's all good.
It's visible, right?
Yes.
Great. So I think what I understand, at least from the event and the people who are attending these events, are most of us are founders or working with startups or people who are really wanting to build up a SaaS organization. And what is critical is when you're thinking of doing that, it's becoming more important to understand that how you build something where you also think of the stuff which never happened ever before in our lifetime, which is about thinking of digital workplace and start thinking about that as a new normal. This is unprecedented times, and what has really taught us, or what it has taught to just not to startups, but also to large organizations, have been that, as the phrase goes, digital transformation was not really done by the CEO or CTO, but primarily COVID. So that's the way things have been changing. And when things are changing in this format, as SaaS companies, as startups, as organization companies, which we are, we really need to re-question ourselves to be meaningful, to understand what costs to be taken care of, to understand what businesses to really focus on, to understand how we really engage with the employees in the current environment, so that we really are ahead of the race. With that as a basic agenda setting, I think I would start to say by I'm a person who used to personally believe that when you work from home, you are actually looking at sleeping. You're not really looking at working full time. I never used to promote that as a philosophy. I consider myself to do that because I am not the Gen Z generation. I'm probably the Gen X or the Gen Y generation who thought that how can it really be possible for one to sell to a customer when you are actually doing it through the laptop. You need to travel 5 days a week at least to get sales closes happen. Anybody who is seeking a work from home, I used to go ahead and say that, why don't you take a leave? It's better to make it more productive and come in tomorrow better. So those used to be the situations where I personally believe, and I'm sure some of you guys who are founders also have been thinking on. But with the new reality, each of us need to change, and that is what we really think or aspire. What I would want to do is also try to make it clear that any businesses today are finally run by people, and this is something which you learn the hard way, but this is something which all great organizations always believe in. It's the employees who are or would ever always remain as the most critical competitive advantage. When you speak to multiple founders, we speak to multiple investors, they generally look forward to understand what kind of culture your organizations have. And when you look at understanding that these are the people whom you would never meet in the next 1 year, next 6 months, you are looking at getting into the entire employee life cycle, right from the onboarding to the performance to the attrition, etc. You really need to get yourself equipped to the digital workplace. You really need to build up the entire environment where employees feel themselves far more engaged, far more connected to give the best at the workplace. Now, when I say all of these about employees being critical, building a competitive advantage. It's also important as founders that one thing which really works in your head is that how do I get the best output for my employees? Am I able to see that the productivity is not getting impacted? Am I able to think about ways where I could actually see a way, built-in measures or tools which can enable or make it comfortable for us to measure the productivity of the employees? Now, what you could do, and I think I was speaking to somebody at Razorpay the other day. They said they hired almost 580 people virtually, right? And when you hire people virtually, it's not easy for you to build that connect. It's becoming critical, but that's something which you have to stick by. So what you do in that case, the best and the simplest ways to do are building a place where you are able to have these cross connections getting formed. Building a place where you actually encourage people to arrange a lot of these informal meetings where they are able to network with these guys. Imagine that you've been hired and you've been put into a place where you're just interacting with a laptop or app based to your managers, or you kind of get into one of these town halls one of times. So a better way to kind of go through the whole process is to get the onboarding right, because the first 30 or 60 days is very formative towards an employee who has been onboarded. It also defines the culture. It also defines the way they start believing that the organization will grow. Gone are the days where you would actually go ahead as a senior leader or as a, this is not the role that's what an HR has to do. This is the role which as leaders, as managers, we really need to think about. Find out ways how we can make it far more efficient. Find out ways that the person who has been onboarded makes it feel comfortable that, okay, I'm in a place which is where multiple people are working to make it better, where multiple people are thinking of finding ways to grow the organization. And then you also have some basic programs in place, which could be about creating cross-team interactions. You may use something like a Slack channel, or you may use some tools like a Facebook at Work or multiple other tools where you speak about those water cooler chat. You should have create an environment where you are able to allow those water cooler chats happen. Believe me, the most important and the critical part of any kind of organization when you're looking at is how you've onboarded the employee. And so you should really look at investing time and effort to ensure that the person who is hired are really finding it a place where they would really want to provide and give their best every day. I think most have really looked at solving this problem by now, but you cannot win a Formula One race if you are driving a Maruti 800. So what I'm essentially trying to say is investment is required in building a virtual work environment. You cannot kind of question that thought. I'm sure everybody must have done that, but the point I'm trying to really make in the statement is think of this as something which should not stay for the next 6 months, but something which should stay for the next 3 years and probably become the new normal as well. You might see customers saying back, I don't want you to come for a meeting. Let's do everything virtually. Now, when this is supposed to stay back, let's not cut corners over there. Let's actually help get the best hardware and software in place. Let's really help create the work environment, build in policies which are meaningful for a work environment, which is powering digital or the virtual work environment. You should actually have the HR enable some policies about how you could define timelines, working hours, how you could coach people, how you could train people, how you could build learning programs, which can make it meaningful for people to work in a work environment. I cannot have a place where I ask my sales team to sell when I don't have a good Skype connection, or I don't have an internet connections, or I don't have a place where I'm able to show my face to the person on the other side. So think about ways where you could do that, and you don't really need to invest, because as startup founders or as any other company, you always are constrained with resources. So find out tools which are possible in a digital format. Find out ways where you could do that in a very low economical manner as well. A role which the HR must really play at this point in time is to primarily train people, because when you think about virtual work environment, it also becomes critical that people are working out of their homes. You might see somebody's kids coming, somebody's dog coming. So it's always way how you are able to speak up, how you're able to make the other people on the other side feel comfortable. As leaders or as CEOs or as founders, each of us need to spend enough time to speak to different resources during the whole period. You cannot say you could walk to anybody's desk and say, "Hey, hi, how are you doing? Are you feeling comfortable?" But now that you're not able to do that, it's becoming imperative for the leaders to really reach out to them, seek a time, and say, "Hey, hopefully things are fine. Your family members are keeping well, etc., etc." Right? This is a phenomenon which, but this is something which is at the core when you speak about engaged employees culture. Not many people think about culture when they start thinking of startup because they think that culture is something which would happen one fine day. It doesn't happen. But culture is the only way which differentiates an organization where each of the employees are giving the best to make their customers really happy and excited. So simple things which can be done over there is about helping you teach basic things about how a virtual behavior should be done. So imagine I'm getting into a meeting and everybody's calendar is almost blocked. While you would have done a meeting in an office where you would have just said, hopefully you are doing fine, you are doing well. But when you're going into a virtual place, you should not really get into a place where I'm just asking, is this task done? Is that task done? Versus asking hope about specific things about what's happening at their house, what was happening over the last weekend. Are you able to embrace or empathize with the people at this point in time? Because some of them are really facing bad times. Some of them have lost jobs. Some of their family members are going through turmoil, which could be Corona or something else. Are there ways where you are able to get that string attached that, hey, this is a tough phase, but I am out there to really help you around, go through that time, right? And positive culture has a long way to go. So what it really does is just not about kind of how people are giving at their workplace, but it also brings in a lot of positive word of mouth, right? I know some of my peer organizations, they've been doing virtual conferences or virtual town meets, and one of the things which they've been doing is to sending across a pizza to everybody and deliver to each of their employees, right? What it does, it also creates a lot of kind of noise about it, a lot of good things which are people speaking about, and that is something which you want. You want people who come in into your Glassdoor and see that, hey, this is an organization which is really thinking about culture. This is an organization which is taking care of the employees. This is an organization where every employee really doesn't start with a Monday morning blues, but they say that, hey, I'm out there meeting people who are doing exciting things, who are really wanting to help me around. And that is something which you really would want to do because uh, as startup founders, it's always resource would always be a constraint. It would always be that there's a customer who is on the top of your job. It would be investors would be expecting you to give numbers, and it would be people who really would be the only guys who you would have a control on. And if you are facing struggle with your people with lie attrition, that's something which you really not want as a problem during this time. Uh, Productivity measurement is very subjective. I think the culture and the productivity measurements are stuff which are very different. A lot of times people say that let's create a culture which is very transparent. We believe in people, we empower people, we kind of allow them to do the work the way they want to. But finally, it's also about getting the numbers delivered, right? It's also about seeing that every employee is giving out able to communicate or deliver as much results as possible. Now, the challenge piece which happens in this is that there's a large set of people who are really doing or who is believing in that trust culture, who are able to give their best, but they're always a place where some set of the audience are not really looking at doing it, and they're not able to get as much productive. Reasons because of distraction, reason because they've been away from home, they don't know. Some of them have reached to their hometowns and they're finding it really tough to work over there. They don't have enough people to speak to. Now, in those places, the productivity gets impacted. A simple ways to do that is I don't really say that the productivity way can only happen through just virtual check-ins or kind of doing one kind of reviews every week or every month or let's say every day, but do stuff which are more collaborative in nature. Do stuff where you are able to enable trainings. Do stuff where you are able to show that this is the way people have been able to deliver best in the virtual environment. And what happens is people learn from their peers. People learn about how things have been happening, where you've been able to win multiple contracts, where you have been able to deliver better outcomes, where the product deliveries have been far more better, where the systems have not failed, where customer success has been able to achieve those numbers. And what it does to it is it finally motivates people. And when motivation is there, the productivity measures are far more higher. You cannot run organization with a cane stick. What you have to do is to find out ways that you can continuously motivate, continuously engage your people to ensure that they strive to give their best at the workplace. And that's something which are the best ways. There's obviously tools which are there. One of the things which I recommend is to have something which we call it as an OKR format, where the objectives are key defined, the key results are very simplified, so that people are not running after multiple goals, but people are running after only a couple of key outcomes. And those brings in a lot of clarity, those brings in a lot of focus, so that everybody delivers what is they're expected to do. So and that's something which is a good recommendation about how you could really look at building productivity improvements. I think I'm just coming to the last two slides. And over here, what I would really look at is the way you start thinking of multiple projects, which are to do about, hey, this is, we want to have a cross-functional team, which can really start thinking about ways we really do towards creating innovation. You should actually have a cross-functional team who is thinking about engagement as a big problem. And when you start thinking of engagement as a problem, you start looking at multiple ways where you could solve it, right? Now, there are multiple tools which you could use for that, but this is a problem which has become critical. No way you can actually have a have a really cool office to speak about culture. It's not possible that you could actually have that I'm offering free lunches, or I'm actually providing you a ways where you can actually come in, spend some time with different people, etc. So the engagement, the culture in today's era is all digital in nature. So what it means is you need to find a way where appreciation is possible in a digital world. You are able to find ways where you're able to gauge the feedback of employees. A lot more active communication channels would be there. Feedback would be done on basic stuff, whether are you kind of feeling comfortable at home, right? Those are basics in place. Are your laptop working? Or it could be something which is very critical in nature as well. Are your aspirations taken care of? Are your managers really understanding you? Are there a few places where you think the organization can work better? Do you think that COVID crisis organization is, what it does is people are also a bit worried. People don't know what's happening, because if you are going to office physically, you understand that, okay, fine, I see that uh, there's some people coming in, there's enough action happening to know, make me feel comfortable that the organization is doing well. But today I'm actually away and I'm sitting alone. I don't know what's happening. I don't know whether my job is safe. So in those cases, it's becoming imperative that you obviously communicate. Second, you run multiple surveys and show outcome of those surveys to the largest set of audience. Speak about your performance, which means speak about your numbers as much as you could. Speak about or create cross-functional teams which are thinking of innovative ideas. Simple things could be speak. I think something which we did at Zozo Day was, uh, if you have become a chef or if you have been trying to do some learning something new, why don't you share into a platform which is there? So people really feel great that, okay, fine, I'm able to share something with a large set of people. Have a tool which could be around appreciation, where people are able to appreciate others for small things which they've been doing. And it just cannot be always top down. It could also be cross-functional in place. So think about engagement as a key driver and think about ways where you could do that, because that is the only way which would really help your employees to feel, no, I'm not alone. I'm actually working along with multiple people who are out there supporting me for a greater cause. So finally, ending my last slide, and I think I've been kind of kept it short. I did mention employees are your core competitive advantage, and you have multiple ways where you could engage them today. And it's imperative. It's just not about just doing it for the doing it sake, but it's imperative for you to start thinking of. This is also not the role of an HR practitioner, but it's the role of a co-founder, a CEO, or leaders who start thinking about elastic workplace, digital workplace, and finding ways where they could align the goals purpose properly. They are able to create a place where people find it fun and social to work in. find these ways where they don't look at these are the working hours, but they are able to give in their best whatever time they're working, wherever they're working with. Feedback is essential. Feedback is something which you should capture as much as possible. Building a culture where you are able to appreciate things which are very simple in nature. Think about financial and mental wellness. People are stressed out. See if you could actually have a program which could be about just taking care of the employees' hassles, employee problems, or provide them some inputs about how they can find themselves getting out of their workout or kind of getting out of their stressed out occasions. And tools or systems which can really help them get into good customer meetings, build collaboration, learning, and growth. So I think that's where I would kind of take a pause. I'm almost kind of done with the presentation. Any queries now, or I can kind of.
Yeah, so there's just like a couple of questions right here. So we have
Yeah.
Ashwin's question where he came up is, so working with other departments or teams, it has become very difficult over the new work from home situation. So what would you think is the most efficient way? Because there are teams where we have dependent teams, like there are certain things where you need to talk to the other teams. So which like when you go to office, there's way much easier communication channel. Considering when you work from home, you need to call someone or chat with someone, and the response from the other end wouldn't be as fast as you can think. So how do you tackle such situations?
So, so, so first thing is, I would consider it's about empathy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always that people are not responding because they are not wanting to
Mm-hmm.
respond. Yeah, it must be that this person is actually occupied. It must be that he is facing some struggle, and it could be basics like internet is not in place, or he's in a place where he's kind of have five members in the family in the same
Mm-hmm.
room, or multiple reasons. So first, start believing that the person on the other side is actually equally wanting to help you
Mm-hmm.
around. Now, when those basic assumptions are in place, I recommend that it's best to have some tools in place, and some cross collaboration tools might just be
Mm-hmm.
helpful, be it the likes of a Slack or a Microsoft Teams, or it could be some other tools which are widely available at no cost. Those could be ways which can do. And there's no other way but to kind of just seek a call time and then ask for a call to just get those clarity in
Mm-hmm.
place. I think those are the best ways to really get out of those queries. Speak up, because speak up is the best way. If you don't speak and you kind of stay
Mm-hmm.
settled in that, it will never really help
Mhm.
you out.
True, very true. Just another question, the same lines. So, because of this new work from home, and I could personally feel that we are able to see a lot of meetings happening. Before we used to have these usual team meetings or sorts, but right now, even a generic one-on-one meetings would actually, you need to go up on a Zoom meeting or whatsoever, and you feel that's like pretty more. Like, there's a lot more process than we used to have. So, what is your take that you would say? And that also affects on the personal life and the work life balance part. So what is your take on it?
A couple of things. One is, I think, as somebody who practices HR or somebody who's an HR
Mm-hmm.
leader, one thing that's to is to have some what I say some procedures in
Mm-hmm.
place, right? What it means is nobody was born to attend a meeting, or nobody was born to kind of get into multiple meetings, because earlier when you used to have a meeting, you has to have a boundary that my conference room only allows 6 people, so I cannot invite 20.
Mm-hmm.
But in a virtual environment, people are saying that that I can invite 20 and 20 should come
Mm-hmm.
in. So what I'm trying to essentially say over here is some bit of trainings which the HR must say is that the one pizza
Mm-hmm.
rule. There should be no meeting which could actually have people beyond 5 or 6 in place, right? That's one. You could actually have a prayer format where you say, I don't have 2 days a week. There cannot be any calendar
Mm-hmm.
blocked for internal
Mm-hmm.
meetings.
True.
Those are basic hygiene and that can define based on what your organization
True.
does. What it does, it also reduces a lot of headache, because firstly, getting to multiple meetings is a big
Mm-hmm.
challenge, and it's obviously the most critical thing to impact your
True.
productivity. So 2 days of no meetings internal might be best, because I know that I cannot do any
Mm-hmm.
meetings, and then that's something which really reduces a lot of
True.
hassle. And then when you are there in those meetings, you also have captured those essence that it's time bound, start at the same time, close at the same time, etc., etc. So those hygiene should be taken care of.
Just a couple of more questions before we wind up. One is, so there's another question from Ashwin where the OKR model has been successful with big tech companies. Would the OKR model also work well with small size startups?
I think a lot of these have to start as early as possible, right? So OKR works across models. It can work for small organization. It can work for large. What is the core essence of OKRs? What is the core essence they are speaking about is don't run after multiple goals. Run after one or two goals. Define the outcomes, and when you have completed those outcomes, think about the next goal. Now, so solving the bigger problem and you break that into multiple smaller problems and then define a timeline and define those key results and measure yourself to that is the core objective. And bigger or smaller organization would really have the same problems to solve.
So another one of the last questions, so this is from Vignesh Rajendran. Since the phase is longer, the work from home phase is longer than we expected, how do you measure progress over time? And what are your different KPIs or surveys you have set out? And what is the current 3 problems that's on top of your priority list? So here's 3 questions in one. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So I think what kind of surveys which you should do? I think the survey, some basic survey, which really helpful in this time is we say those something called as a employee net promoter score. Employee net promoter score is primarily a simple one question which you could ask is will you recommend your organization for others to join, right? Now, and you can obviously run those anonymous as well with some critical feedback. What it gives to you is you get an understanding about who are your people who would really stand by you and who are the people who are not standing by you. If those scores are not really the best for you, it means you have to start thinking. So that's one thing which you could do. And then employee net promoter scores can also be going to a second extent where you can then pulse surveys you could run about the entire suite of survey, which could be checking about hygiene parameters, which means you run survey. Is your office or your home setup fine? Are you able to kind of get time? Is your internet taken care of? Those could be hygiene parameters. Second set of surveys for me is, are you able to really get enough kind of feedback from your manager? Are you able to speak up, right? So those are the second set of surveys where you could really ask about more strategic in nature. And the third ones are, which could be more for the organization-wide stuff, which means, do you think that the organization is going the right direction, right? Because everybody wants to contribute, everybody wants to add value. Or you think that, do you think that there are a few things which the organization can do, which can be meaningful for you as an individual to go in the organization? Those are the last set of surveys. What are some other things which you could do is you could obviously do a bit more about some pieces around COVID preparation survey. So I think a whole lot of things, but I think I'll kind of restrict to this. Now, core problems which I personally think of solving is there's a lot of people in the organizations who are working home or who are kind of secluded. And one of the things which you really want to solve for is see how best they are able to make themselves feel comfortable and get aligned to the organization value, right? It's not easy when you communicate regularly, but there's a place where you are not able to bring that gap about closing your office hours, starting now. So those are pieces which is critical, so that the employees are able to feel that, hey, I'm actually able to relate to it. And the entire piece which I spoke about culture, I think as myself, I would want to solve that culture problem as much as anybody else would do. The second problem is, I think the problem is more with the customers on the other side, and a lot of you are also facing same is given their COVID, where organizations are showing better results because they've cut a lot of costs.
True.
I think the challenge has been they have been just arm twisting multiple people. So I think I would want to kind of say that the customers who start becoming more genuine, I think that's a problem which people have said they've started using COVID as a reason for not closing orders, negotiating, etc. So I think that's a problem which is a bigger problem, more on individuals to do. And what is also impacting is it's impacting the growth economy, which you really would want to do. So that's a place where we are really thinking, and this is not in control. Obviously, you can solve some problems yourself. Yeah, I think broadly those could be top two for me.
Well, then, thank you so much, Sumit, for your time. I think we ran a bit over the time limit. Well, then, thank you so much, Sumit, and it was a great session. And thank you, everyone, for joining in as well. Thank you, Sumit.
Thanks so much.